Welcome to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, joined as always by...
me, Rob. Let's talk about them birds.
Oh, yes, the birds. Everybody's
Bird.
Birds the turd. Ooh.
Get a little spicy over here.
Getting all spicy already, like kicking up a notch. Bam!
little salt.
A little salty. So, yeah, guys, we got a lot of news to go over with you guys. We got a fan favorite out for the year. Literally one of the best players, probably top 3 players on this roster, I would say. Probably safe to say.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but probably safe to say. We got a big name quarterback being rumored to be going to the Giants. That's a little crazy. That's a little crazy. We got a brand new Giant that's not a rumor. We actually did sign someone today, not a quarterback, but a defensive tackle. And then we got to go over the matchup this weekend here against the Philadelphia Beagles, because that's the big one there. So that's a rivalry that we always look forward to when we're winning. And the last couple of years, we really haven't looked forward to. We won last time, though. We're as good as our last matchup. We won last time.
Yeah. Woohoo!
1-10.
Yeah.
But let's talk about even worse.
Chance.
Let's talk about even worse news. So yeah, Andrew Thomas officially out for the year. Now we started, going over this. It was still a question mark at that point that hadn't been finalized, but within the last hour or two, it's been finalized. Andrew Thomas is officially going to be out for the year. He's got a Lisfranc injury. Now, for those of y'all that might be able to go back in their mental wayback machine, they remember a couple of years ago we signed tight end Kyle Rudolph, the former Viking. This is the same foot injury he had that we almost didn't sign him because he failed the physical. So it's not an atypical thing for football players to have, but it's a big injury, guys, because it's your foot. It hurts every time you plant your foot.
And his position, he's playing that thing a lot. With a lot of weight behind him and the guy.
Yeah, and you don't want to plant once, but you still got to put that kind of pressure on there at that point. That's hard to do with that kind of injury. So before we get too much into the injury, I should say, because I haven't heard many people really give this to him, let's give some kudos to Andrew Thomas for playing last week with a Lisfranc injury. I know he didn't play his best, guys, but now you know why it wasn't his best.
Yeah.
That's impressive that he actually finished out the game. The injury happened during the game, guys. It's not like it happened, when he was partying after the loss or something like that. Like, no, this was mid-game he had this injury, and he kept on playing. That's a trooper right there, guys. That's pretty impressive. But anyway, The news broke this morning he was going to see a specialist that literally specializes in Lisfranc injuries. And they weren't sure what was going to happen, but it's been confirmed. He had surgery today on it. So they're still saying likely out for the year. I'm calling it. He's out for the year. There's no way these guys.
Yeah.
You don't come back from that kind of. And be very frank with you guys, it's almost like think of it like the foot version of an ACL. There's guys who aren't even 100% the next year coming back as well from it. It's a long recovery from that kind of injury. So I'm not hoping for that. I'm just trying to give you guys fair warning. Like, might be a little bit rough start for him next year as well. But it's horrible. I mean, we finally get the offensive line going, guys. And, putting aside the fact that it's horrible for Andrew Thomas, because the guy's been a freaking absolute consummate professional his entire time here as a Giant, never once complained about the fact that he plays next, at least before this year, play next to a different scrub every single week. Like, that's what it was. Like, it wasn't even like he played next to one crappy player. Like, no, he played next to a different crappy player every week, it felt like, for the first couple of years of his career. So, like I said, I feel bad for him. I really do. But I also, like I said, I feel bad for us, and I feel bad for the Giants. I feel bad for Daniel Jones even, dare I say, because that's a big loss. This is one of the best tackles in the entire NFL, and he's going to be out now for the entire year, it looks like. So the first question obviously comes into it is who's going to replace him? We talked about the last episode. We knew he had a foot injury. We weren't sure the extent yet, but we talked about Evan Neal. We talked about Josh Azudu. Those are the two guys listed as the backup tackles on the roster. You look at the guys who we have as the other backups on the roster there. Well, Aaron Stinney and, even like a guy like Greg Van Roten or, guys like John Roden Jr. that start right now at guard. Those guys don't play tackle. They're not multi-faceted like that. It's like they play guard positions or, they can play center sometimes too, but they're not outside guys. They're not tackles. So that gives you the idea of Ezeudu or everybody's favorite burger flipper, Evan Neal. And Dable already came out and said that Josh Ezeudu is going to get the first shot, and they're just going to see basically in practice how it works. So that's not a very ringing endorsement by any shape of the imagination. We're going to also find out what they're going to do as far as the positions overall, because, guys, that's his blind side. And I know Daniel Jones already plays like he's blind, but what I mean is like that's what he's facing. So you want someone good there. You don't want somebody who's going to be giving up sacks left and right, because Daniel Jones, listen, even if you love it, Daniel Jones, I know some people do still, you have to admit he's not the best at feeling pressure sometimes. So the last thing you want is a really bad tackle on his blind side. If you don't understand the importance of the blind side, I suggest you
watch the movie.
The first 5 minutes, at least, of the blind side. So they show LT getting snapping Joe Theismann's leg at that point. It's important, guys. And I think Jermaine Illuminor should probably move over to the left-hand side. I know it's going to sound a little crazy to do the mid-season switch there, but even with him having the issue of having to change positions, I trust him a hell of a lot more than I trust Ezeudu and Evan Neal. I really do.
Yeah.
I would have the other two fight it out at the right tackle spot and see what happens. But, I'm not Dable. I'm not Shane. I don't have access to the information they have that they've seen in practice. Maybe they see something different that I don't know. Who knows? We'll have to see. Time will tell that one. But, yeah, that's a big loss, guys. And
huge.
Part of me, though, says at the same point, listen, guys, this is a little negative. We're 2-4. What do you really expect out of the season at this point? If he's going to be out for a while, you might as well shut him down anyway. Let him get healthy for next year. That hopefully matters.
I mean, there's still a lot of football left, Drew. So,
there's still a lot of football left, and maybe we trade. We're going to talk about it in a minute here, but I mean, one right move at the most important position, and next thing you know, 2-4 be 3-4, 4-4. Next thing you know, we're turning things around.
Yeah,
got to turn the beat around.
Yeah, turn around.
Every now and then, Daniel Jones falls apart.
Turn around. We may win a few games, and next thing you know, we're 500.
You never know. This ain't your mama's Eagles. This ain't the same as the Eagles have been the last couple of years, guys. Like, this ain't the way. Like, we're gonna go over that a little bit too, but like, this is a win.
But also that, and like, it's just the modern NFL. Like the past couple of years, like you've seen the transition of bad teams becoming good and good teams becoming bad. So the 500 team, like those teams getting 9-10 wins are really good teams in this NFL. Like, and 7 is still a good team. It's just they're coming down from grace.
Well,
so
below average team.
It's still below average, but they're still playing tough football. Like what I'm saying is,
they're not scrub. They're like JV.
Yeah, I mean, granted, the Browns are playing like the Browns. Like, I actually saw a stat today to go on a side tantrum of.
No, we never do that here.
That when Baker was there and they had that really bad stretch, was it 17 from 16 to 17 or 15 to 16? I think it was 17 to 16 when they went 1-31.
2002 to about.
Well, they were really bad for a long time, but I'm saying there was a 2-year stretch where they went 1-31.
Yeah,
and they're playing worse with their yards.
Guys, remember that, Giants fans. It could be worse.
Yeah, it could be worse. Definitely could be worse. So, like, take the Browns out of the equation, but the rest of the NFL is playing pretty good football, and also take the Panthers out too.
I'm telling you that honestly. The weird thing is I'm not doom and gloom about the Andrew Thomas thing. I'm really not. For some reason, I'm having a little faith right now in Carmen Priscilla to at least get this line serviceable, even without Andrew Thomas. I mean, let's be honest, guys. Again, I'm showing him respect for what he did against the Bengals, because playing while you already suffered a Lisfranc injury is legit. That is a freaking guy who doesn't give up, point blank. He deserves our respect for doing that. But he did not play like Andrew Thomas.
He played like Andrew Thomas that's hurt.
Yeah, but what I'm getting at is he gave up 2 sacks. He didn't look his best. He had a untimely penalty that cost a very big play. Like that, he did un-Andrew Thomas-like things, again, probably because of the injury. And maybe we've already kind of seen a glimpse of what the line would be like without Andrew Thomas, because it's almost like we didn't have Andrew Thomas last game, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know,
Andrew
again, I try to show the man respect for playing through that Lisfranc injury for the rest of that game, but I'm just calling it what it is. Like, that wasn't the usual Andrew Thomas. So it's almost like we saw what this line functions like with a downgraded offensive, at least left tackle. And it wasn't that horrible.
No. Because Andrew Thomas is still a beast.
80% of Andrew Thomas. This line is also playing much better.
It is. And you're right. And Carmicillo, I have a lot of faith in him to make the right moves of moving the right person over and still being serviceable. Like, are we going to play like we've been playing for the first 6 weeks of football? Maybe not. Maybe not, but I mean, it's still going to be a lot better than what we played last year.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. That's I think part of why my negativity is not that like it usually is. Like, we've had worse. No matter what the offensive line plays like the rest of this year, we've had worse, guys. So I'm going to try to be a little bit of positive and hope that, we pull this together and have at least a serviceable offensive line, and we get this rolling here. So, you know what really would help us rolling, though? If we had a different quarterback. Oops, did I say that out loud again?
Oh, you did say that.
I did. And the Giants are linked to a new quarterback, guys. Oh, I almost lost it. I have to rewrite it in my chalk there. But we need a quarterback in my my gnome here with the chalkboard behind me. But yeah, we were linked to a new quarterback here, guys. Now, I will say this: this has been going all over social media. This has not been going over the main channels yet, so it's not like this is like a Jordan Ronan or a Pat Traina or something like that saying this. But this is all over social media, people rumbling about their whispers they're hearing supposedly about this being a thing. And we know this guy hit the trade market last year, and to no avail. Nobody basically took him because of this contract. And guys, that's Matthew Stafford being rumored as a potential person to go here to the New York Giants. And that's a little crazy. To me, it's a little bit crazy. I did not think that we'd hear rumors of a quarterback trade. I really didn't. Keep in mind, November 5th, guys, is the deadline. So there's still a couple weeks to go in this whole thing. But the Rams are going nowhere fast. They have a quarterback who's 36 years old. And they're looking at it going, we rebuilding here? What are we doing? You can't rebuild with a 36-year-old quarterback. So, which also begs the question of why we want a 36-year-old quarterback. Because we're also rebuilding. So there's a catch-22 in this whole entire scenario here. So let's go over the stats, though, first for Matt Stafford on the year here. 67.4 completion percentage, 1,238 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions in 5 games. Keep in mind the Rams had their bye week already. It's not that they missed a game. Now, you also have to keep in mind Puka Nacua has not played since week 1. Cooper Kupp has only played in 2 of those 5 games. And Matthew Stafford is also getting sacked at a very high 8.38% of passing plays, which is really the second highest in his career. And he started playing back when there was leather helmets. So he's been on for a while now, okay, guys? It feels like he's been playing forever, right? I mean, he's what? Was he like, I want to say 2008 was his rookie year?
Probably.
Yeah. I want to say
sounds about right.
I'd have to look it up. I knew it was a couple of years after Eli. So, but yeah.
We spent a lot of bad years with the Lions, so.
Yeah, 100% here. I'm trying. 2009 NFL draft, so I was close. So now the first question you got to ask is, again, his age. Is he in decline? Because 36 years old, you ain't no spring chicken, guys. Trust it from a 42-year-old here. 36. I remember that was 6 years ago. I was feeling every single ache in my body at that point, and I wasn't getting hit by 350-pound men for a living. Like there's a difference people sometimes forget between a regular 36-year-old guy and a 36-year-old guy who's had massive people falling on top of him for the last 15 years. Like there is a huge difference. He has not thrown for 25 touchdowns or more since 2021. That was their Super Bowl year. That was his first year with the Rams. That was also the year that Cooper Kupp had his massive year at that point, like 1,900 yards, I think, or something like that, ridiculous that
something
year.
Like that.
So it's like you also can question, was part of his renaissance, so to speak, because Cooper Kupp was so good that year? Or was Cooper Kupp's amazing year because Matthew Stafford was so good that year? You don't know. You don't know. It's probably a combination of both.
I was about to say, it's definitely both.
Yeah, I understand. You it's still a thing to have. He's also been dealing with injuries, obviously, the last couple of years, as most 36-year-old quarterbacks have. His hip, his elbow, and his back, just since last season alone. That being said,
and he's concussed.
That being said, he hit two concussions too. But I don't call the injuries. That's a separate thing. It's not injury per se.
It's an injury to the brain. Now it's not an injury.
It's just like, no, but I mean, like, that could happen to anybody. You just get hit the wrong side. It's not because he got concussion because he's 36 years old, you know?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
that's what I mean. Like, that's just, he gets smacked in the wrong part of the brain, basically, at that point. You know, I hate to, like, be light about it. Like, they're not, like, nothing. But it's not the same as, like, a back, a hip, a hand, like.
Hey, listen, I hurt my back. I had back surgery at 32, so.
I get it, yeah. Back, nothing to mess with, that's for damn sure. But again, he hasn't missed a game this year. He played in 15 last year, and they literally just benched him for the last week of the season for no apparent reason, basically. So it wasn't like an injury thing. So he's basically missed one game due to injury in the last, year and a quarter or whatever you want to call it at that point there. So, I wouldn't say injuries have been an issue, but injuries are cropping up, that's for sure. The other thing is cap-wise, because that's always the question is, can we this work cap space-wise? Assuming that this wouldn't come with a new deal or an extension, which I can't believe it would, his base salary is going to be anywhere from $23 to $26 million each season over the next 3 years. All the guaranteed money would have been paid for by the Rams before the trade. Same as when you cut a player. If you trade a player, the guaranteed money becomes due right then and there. That's the way that works. So, yeah. Not that bad at that point there, because that means you can move on from any point with no penalty whatsoever, guys. So let's say it's not working out. It's not like it is right now with Daniel Jones, where we're stuck with him this year because of the contract. You can move on. Like, okay, listen, he slipped. He's not the same player. Gone. Bye.
Yeah.
We got a different player. We want to be the starting quarterback now. Is younger. We think has potential. Gone. That's how simple it is.
Yeah. Come to the Giants. Train your next. Train, like, it's a perfect bridge quarterback situation.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the intriguing part about this whole thing to me, is that you can succeed in the present potentially, at least more than you are now, while having a guy that, by all accounts, the people who played with them, is a great guy. Again, I don't know him personally. I'm not pretending I know these people personally, but by all accounts, when you listen to people talk about him, they all have just nice things to say about him.
Yeah,
and he seems like the perfect guy to be that bridge quarterback there. So he's a leader. He's an upgrade over Daniel Jones. I know the stats don't necessarily show it, but again, here's the weird thing. This is thing you wouldn't be able to say this a couple of years ago. Daniel Jones has more talent around him than Matt Stafford does right now.
You're not wrong for saying that. It was just crazy to say.
Better. They don't have a Neighbors. Even they don't have a Wan'Dale Robinson right now.
No, they got nothing. They're really fighting for just anything. Yeah. They're number 3, so they're number 1 right now.
Yeah, I think Atwell is their number 1 receiver right now, and that's like a guy who usually does like 500 yards a season. Like, that's not, like I was saying, though. We have better weapons around us. I mean, the running game is decent for Los Angeles as well, but we have decent running backs as well, even though they haven't played like it recently. But that's a whole separate issue. At least except for Tyrone, the one, Tracy, the 1 week. But again, this contract wouldn't prevent us getting a successor. The big question really this whole thing is, how much would this trade cost? That's my big question. That's like, you're telling me, like, if the Rams call up, and I'm sorry, I don't know the name of the Rams GM off the top of my head here, but let's say he calls up and say, hello, Joe Shane, how would you like to have Matthew Stafford? All it'll cost you is a 1. I'd be like, no.
Yeah. Question
Because,
number
again,
3. Oh,
he's
okay.
a short term. Yeah, that's where. And Rob and I were talking before the show. That's what we kind of say, like a 3, okay. If you want a 3 and a 5 or something like that, like say you want 3 this year and a 5 next year, something like that. Okay, I'd be okay with that as well. I'm not giving up one of my prime picks, my day 1, day 2 picks, because getting Matthew Stafford hypothetically does not preclude, to use a large word here, preclude us from still getting the quarterback of the future in this upcoming draft.
No,
because he's 36 years old, guys. He'll be 37 next year, that means. So guess what? After 37 is 38. It doesn't get better over time. I know it's crazy math.
I was about to say, you can do math.
This is like Common Core over here. So, like, if you get a rookie quarterback, let's say this upcoming draft, that means that you could let Matt Stafford play for the year, let this kid sit on the bench for a while, learn from Matt Stafford and how he does it. I'm sorry, I hate calling him Matthew. I never always call him Matthew. It's Matt, right?
Pretty sure he was always Matt Stafford.
I always hear Matthew Stafford. It just sounds so proper. Like he's the
so prim and
proper quarterback. But it's like you can sit behind Stafford and learn for a year and how he does it. And that's a very valuable tool for a young quarterback. You also can literally let him sit for the year, and Dable can groom him, so to speak, to be that next quarterback. To teach him things, show him things in motions, how to read things. He can learn what Stafford's doing to read things on the field during the games and all that. And you don't have to rush him.
Yeah, you could literally see like Dable go on the sideline as Stafford's in there to the new quarterback and like, see what he's doing here. This is why he's doing this. This is how you do that. And that's how you like. It's literally like you're telling the person how to do it. You're showing the person how to do it. And you're going to allow them to do it in practice. And that's the best way to teach anyone anything. And
I don't mean 4 games like we did with Daniel Jones. I mean, legitimately let Stafford play the year, let the kid learn, and then you start him in 2026. Which sounds weird. It sounds so far away.
I know.
I just paused for a second. Like, is that the right year?
But I was like,
I saw you were doing the same thing in your head. Like, is that the right year, too?
I was like,
But yeah, I mean, like I said, that to me makes a whole lot of sense to do that. But again, it's got to be the Rams are wanting to get rid of him, where they're going to take what is probably undervaluing what he's worth. Because I think to somebody, he could potentially be worth a first or a second and something else kind of scenario. But it's a matter of if a trade like this goes down, I'm going to put it this way. And I don't have any insight knowledge. I don't pretend to know this kind of stuff here. But if a trade goes down like this is a guy who brought a Super Bowl to the Rams. This is a guy that they're going to do what they think is not only in best interest of the franchise, but in best interest of the player as well, out of respect, I think. And if Matt Stafford says, hey, I want to go, they're going to let him go. They're going to trade him. They're not going to hold on to him. Now, if Stafford says, I want to go somewhere specifically, I don't know if they do that. And I don't know if Matt Stafford would want to play necessarily for the Giants specifically. But I look at the teams that are out there, what makes sense for a guy to go to quarterback-wise. Look at the team that needs a quarterback. The Panthers? No.
Definitely won't go there.
Nothing to do with that. The Dolphins? Well, the Dolphins said today that Tua is coming back later this year. Or was he yesterday? Mike McDaniel said it yesterday or today. He said that. He expects Tua back. So you're Stafford, you're not going there. You know, where would you go? The Giants is the logical.
Yeah. It's not like
to go.
It's not like he wants to become a Raider.
No. And that's a good option as well, technically to look at it for him. But yeah, I wouldn't want any part of that franchise whatsoever. And they just got rid of Devontae Adams. So you go from a team that doesn't have any weapons to another team that has no weapons. Why would you want to go there?
Yeah,
the Giants
no weapons and a worse record.
and he can go to the Giants as like the savior. Let's be very frank. He can be an average quarterback, and the fan base will love him because he's not Daniel Jones. I know the Daniel Jones lovers will hate me saying that, but it's the truth, guys. Even if you're somebody who loves Daniel Jones, you think he's not the problem. You have to admit that the fan base would be happy for anybody that's not Daniel Jones to be starting.
Yeah, especially like listen, because everyone jumped up about Danny DeVito saying how great he was. Even the Jones
Tommy DeVito.
lovers. Tommy, damn it, I always say Danny.
Because you're just
It's always
watching
sunny.
Batman Returns.
No, I was watching It's Always Sunny. Romham.
Prepping for the game.
Yeah. But yeah, he's like, we were excited to watch the third string quarterback play football and win games. What do you think is going to happen when a Super Bowl winning quarterback comes to this team and we start winning games?
Yeah.
And it's a no-brainer.
No, like I said, it's a no-brainer if the price is right in my eyes.
Yeah.
That's what it is. The price has to be right, okay? Like Drew Carey and Bob Barker need to collide together at that point, okay? And this spay and neuter their pets, okay? And like hit the dollar on the wheel. Like that's what's got to happen. Like I honestly think if this scenario, again, if it's true, even because it's like weird like social media reports kind of stuff. It's not like, again, it's one of the major publications saying this. But if it is going down, and it wouldn't shock me because, again, they shopped him around this offseason. It's not like the Rams haven't shopped Matt Stafford already. But if this goes around, we can get that kind of thing. Yeah. Here's the third-round pick, or here's even 2 third-round picks or whatever, and you get Matt Stafford for the next year or two, and that's it. And you still get your quarterback of the future. It's great. The only concern I would have up front is, would Matt Stafford make this team so much better that we hurt our draft status in a positive way, if that makes sense? But that's a great problem to have, guys.
I was about to say, that's a good problem to have. Like, that's not something you should be upset.
And see, that's how upset Rob was over that suggestion. He left. And the other thing is that in that scenario, guys, we would still have a first-round pick. So we can still have the first-round pick next year as well. We can move up if we have to. Look at the guys who have been the can't-miss prospect quarterbacks for the last 10 years. How many of those have actually been can't-miss prospects? You know? Like, how many of them really have been? You know, look at the guys who have been the first quarterbacks taken off the board, you know? Look at this. Like, Sam Darnold may not be the best example right now because he's playing really good with the with the Vikings right now, but there's a classic example. He was a can't miss prospect. He was going to be a great quarterback at that point there. Bryce Young's already flailing out in Carolina. Trevor Lawrence, we've said it before, he's like the per plus version of Daniel Jones. Joe Burrow's been good. Kyler Murray, has he really been that good? You know, I mean, he's been an okay quarterback, but he's not taking them to any new heights, so to speak, there. You know, Baker's gone from Cleveland on his 4th team. Finally kind of seems to be getting everything rolling at that point. You know, Jared Goff got traded away from the Rams at that point, so they didn't think they could win a Super Bowl with him. Jameis Winston's a backup in Cleveland. You know, this is where I'm getting, like, the top quarterbacks are not always the best quarterbacks overall. You know, look at guys like Josh Allen. You know, look at the guys like, Lamar Jackson. Look at the guys like Patrick Mahomes. Like, a lot of these guys were mid-first round picks. So just because you don't have the first overall pick doesn't mean you don't get a quarterback. Now, every so often you get a Joe Burrow or Andrew Luck that turns out to be great when everybody thought he was going to be great. But it's not a highest percentage you think, guys. So, all right. Let's get into the newest Giant, though. We did sign somebody today, too, here. The Giants signed Armon Watts here today. Now, that's not to be confused with Randy Watson. Armon Watts here, signed here. He's signed into the practice squad. Corner and defensive back Duke Shelley was dropped as a result. Watts is 28 years old, 6'5", 307 pounds. That's a big guy. 6th-round pick of the Vikings back in 2019 from Arkansas. Spent his first 3 seasons under our current defensive line coach, Andre Patterson, there in Minnesota. For his career, 72 games, 22 starts, had 5 of his 8.5 career sacks in his final season with the Vikings. He spent 23 with the Bears. He spent 22 with the Bears. Spent 23 with the Steelers, and he was in camp with the Patriots this offseason, but reached an injury settlement with them back in August, and now he's finally healthy. So, a very low-risk move. This is a move I like, actually. Low-risk move. You already know good background on him because, again, Andre Patterson coached him up in the Vikings. So he knows what he does and what he does well. He knows how coachable he is. He knows his personality. He knows that kind of stuff. Then you roll into the fact that you got a practice squad spot. That's not giving up anything major at that point on the roster to get him. Then you throw in the fact that this is a guy coming off an injury settlement. So what that means is he was only floating around on the street still, not because no one thought he could play football, but because of the fact that he was battling back from an injury that he already got a payout in August over. That's the kind of move that makes a lot of sense to make, because it's not saying he's a scrub. It's not saying he can't play football. It's he wasn't healthy enough to start playing football. Now he is, and we got him for nothing because he's a free agent, and we're only putting a roster spot from the practice squad for him, which means we can either go ahead and let him sit there for a week or two, see how he does in practice, see how he fits in. We can call him up if we have to for a week or two, and it's a very low cap space kind of move. So, yeah, that is 100% a slam dunk move. Not that I'm expecting mega dividends from it, don't get me wrong. But this is one of those moves that you look at on paper and go, this could be a smart investment kind of thing that pays some dividends, and you just didn't give up anything to get it, basically. Except Duke Shelley's been sitting on the practice squad all but one of the weeks so far. I think the only week we had him up there was against the was it the Browns we lost, or was it the Seahawks might have been. I forget which team we had Adoree Jackson and Drew Phillips on the bench there. I think it was the Browns, if I remember correctly there. So yeah, not a big loss there. And you got a guy now that probably would have made it on some kind of roster if not for the injury. So that's the kind of guy you want to pick up. So all right, we got Rob back here.
Sorry about that. Dog just connect to my power.
I thought you were wearing a business suit at first, the way this shot is. Like, look at that. And then I'm like, what? Oh, he's got no sleeves on again. Like, did this man just put a suit jacket on? He got all fancy for us.
No, it's just a regular good old vest.
All right. You missed the whole Armand Watts conversation now, so.
Oh, great.
I know you really want to talk for a while about a practice squad edition. But like I said, not a bad move. Again, low risk. A guy with some experience. A guy who's played one of our coaching staff before at a position we talked about all year long. But now he's actually very, busting at the seams at defensive tackles and defensive linemen, guys. Let's be honest. It wasn't for Elijah Chapman being something. We'd be in trouble potentially. So, all right. Let's go ahead and pay the bills real quick, guys.
Ooh.
And then
back just in time for my favorite part.
And then what we're going to do is we're going to go over this upcoming game here against the Philadelphia Beagles.
Enjoying the show? Looking for more goofball action? Consider a membership at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Memberships start at just $5 and give you additional goofball access. One-time support payments also available starting at just $3. buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Snap into a Slim Jim. So let's get into the matchup here with the Philadelphia Eagles here, because this is a team that, to be honest, guys, I don't know what to think of. I really don't. I'm a bit mixed on. And the reason why is because of the fact that 1 point can be very important, which I know sounds really weird to have as a title here for a segment here. But I want to look back at what the Eagles have done here so far. So they're 3-2 on the season, guys. Their only really quality win they've had was against the Packers, and that's week 1 of the Brazil game. Brazil. They barely beat the Browns last week by 4 points. So you look at it and go, okay, not very good. Eagles have taken a step back. They've definitely gotten a lot of slack from the fan base. Nick Sirianni is getting a lot of slack from the fan base.
I was about to say, he was getting chanted to get fired.
Yeah. He's like crying at points, not just because of the Star Spangled Banner.
You see him yelling at the fans too. It's amazing.
But what's crazy is each one of their games have been extremely close, minus the Buccaneers game that they got blown out point blank.
Yep.
But the other 4 games were literally decided by a combined 13 points, guys. That's like 1 field goal per game, basically. That is how close it's been between these teams here. So, and the big one for me is they lost by 1 point week 2 the Atlanta Falcons. I think it was a Sunday Night Football game, if I remember right. It was one of the primetime games. And they started the season off back-to-back primetimes. Primetime.
Yeah, I think Sunday Night Football.
I think it was. But think about this though, if one more thing had gone their way, they would have won. Again, if the queen had ball, she'd be the king. We can have these discussions like crazy as far as if this happened, if that happened. But this is what I'm saying by how close 1 point matters. If one more thing had gone their way, and they had won that game, they'd be 4-1 right now. Would people really still be talking about them as a crap team at 4-1?
So, once again, going back to what I said earlier, there's a lot of teams that are really good teams that are on the way down. They're spiraling downhill. There's a lot of bad teams that are on the way of going up. Like, look at the Commanders. And I'm going to bring this full circle in a second. Look at the Commanders. You talked about how great they've looked, and you dropped a board about the Commanders. But they've also won very close games as well. And they went against a better talented team this last week and lost the way they should lose. The Eagles have played, they obviously were in the Super Bowl a few years ago, but they've been slowly spiraling downhill.
Correct. But they've also been playing very close games a lot of that point.
They have, but
I got you.
Like last year, last 7 games, 1-6. Right now, they're still playing very close games, which is like the talent that they play. Like it's been good talent, but like has it been great? Like still debatable.
Yeah.
But to go full circle, like 2 years ago when the Giants went to we weren't supposed to win any games. We weren't supposed to go to playoffs. We did. We won very close games. Playoffs. We weren't supposed to win that many games. We won within, a touchdown, a field goal.
Yep.
And the next year we did.
Yeah.
And we could have said the same argument, which you're just saying now about can you trust the Eagles or not? Would you trust the Giants last year?
But we did have that conversation plenty of times going, will the real Giants please stand up? Because you weren't quite sure what was going on there.
Yeah. And I think the Eagles this year are the Giants of last year.
But I mean,
I shouldn't say as drastic.
What I'm saying. It's so hard to just discount them at this point. But it's also, again, as much as I said they could be 4-1 right now if one more thing had went their way in the Falcons game, if one more thing didn't go their way in one of the 3 games they won, they could be 2-3 right now, and you'd be even less. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they're playing very close games.
Their margin for error is so small, it's not even funny.
They were even that way last year. For the first 11 games, a lot of like 80% of those games were within that 4-point margin. Like they were just barely squeaking out those wins, but they got 11 wins off it, or 10 wins in that first year.
You know what's the funny thing is that Falcons game. You know what? Remember why they lost that game, right?
Why is that?
Saquon Barkley dropped a pass that would have been an easy touchdown if he just caught it.
Yep.
So Saquon Barkley cost them there. So it's just like I said, it's crazy. It really is crazy. All right, let's get into the actual game itself here, guys, real quick. And then I see you guys with the comments there. We will definitely get to you guys in a moment here. We're done talking about the upcoming game there. Keep the comments coming by all means. When on offense, that's we got to go on first. And be honest, guys, a lot of times when we talk about this, when on offense, when on defense, I go into kind of stats for you guys there as far as how the Eagles defense would be in this scenario. I didn't want to do it this time. Because let me be very frank about this and say the Eagles defense, is an average defense. They're playing like an average defense right now. Like literally across the board, if you look at a lot of their stats, it's like anywhere from 18 to 13 kind of scenario. Like they're very average right now. Except for sacks. They're having a lot of trouble getting sacks at that point, which is weird because they were so good at that just a couple years ago,
Yeah. Multiple guys, 10 plus sacks.
Set NFL records, I think, almost basically for sacks. And that's they are not getting at the quarterback. They're ranked 22nd right now in sack percentage on passing plays there. But the bigger thing for the Giants is them on offense. So Daniel Jones obviously looked like poop last week. Let's call it what it is. He looked like poop, and he doesn't typically play very well on prime time. We've talked about this numerous times. We talked about leading that game even. He does not play well for whatever reason in primetime games. He's got one primetime win in his entire career, and it's the Giants. They play a couple times easily because they're a big fan base. He also doesn't play well at home, though. He's away, home and away, numbers. The away numbers are so much better. It's not even funny. This is why I keep on saying like he needs to go somewhere else, not just for our benefit, but for his own. It's the truth. I'm being honest. I really don't wish the guy anything bad. I wish him all the best in the world. He's a nice guy. But that's where I come into like, okay, he probably will play better than he played last week, but he probably won't play as good as he played against the Seahawks because he's back still in MetLife. But it's like that's part of the equation. It's what Daniel Jones do we get? And then you get the other parts of the equation of who's going to play. Is Malik Neighbors going to come back from the concussion protocol? Because he's still in protocol, guys. It's been 2.5 weeks now, almost.
Yeah,
it's
like, crazy.
He's still in protocol. He's still limited practice right now. We'll give the injury report. We do our episode tomorrow, but that's where he's at right now. Devin Singletary, does he play? I know everybody loves the Tyrone Tracy Jr. story, and don't get me wrong, it's great. I love it when a guy who's like a fifth-round rookie comes in and just takes control of a spot for a couple weeks. It's great. That's where you don't expect a lot of production out of late-round picks, but when you get it, that's a plus. But if you guys don't think we're better off without Tyrone Tracy and Devin Singletary, you're crazy. Absolutely crazy. I'm sorry. I'm just going to call it out and say it like it is. We need both of them to succeed because they both provide something different. One of them is a speedy guy who's very good in open space at that point, is a good receiver as well. Another guy is just a solid B-level veteran that's been with this league now for a few years and seated in multiple places. You need them both.
Yeah.
So, and then you run to the fact that Andrew Thomas is going to be out. How is the left tackle spot going to work? Or the right tackle if they move things around and put a Luminor at left tackle? Like, there's a lot of question marks in how this offense is going to look for us on Sunday. And I think that actually matters more than what the Eagles defense does or does not do well, because again, they're a mediocre defense. And when you look at that, you go, okay, they should have an okay game then against them. But the Giants have struggled against bad defenses. We put up 7 points against the Bengals, one of the worst defenses in the league.
Yeah,
we put up like 1 yard per carry average against the Cowboys, one of the worst rushing defenses in the league.
Yeah.
So it's hard to go in like rah, 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 go Giants. Like it really is when you've had these kind of things happen the last couple weeks, guys. But that's what we're looking at now. The big thing is who is going to play for the Giants? Because if Neighbors is in, Singletary's in, and we at least get not great because I don't think it's ridiculous to expect, but whoever is the replacement on the offensive line, where Luminor moves to the left and they go play the right, or they play at the left where Thomas played, whoever the replacement is, if they even played just okay, then yeah, that's a good addition at that point there. Because in past years, we'd be screwed when Andrew Thomas goes down. We're screwed with them in too as well because the rest of the line sucked. But
yeah,
these are question marks, and the question marks are 100% on the Giants at this point. This is not even let's talk about how good or bad the offense, obviously the defense is for the Eagles, because that's not the question here on Sunday. The question on Sunday is who's going to play for the Giants and what can we do to actually score some points for once. I don't know about y'all, but I'm sick of field goals. I'm sick of interceptions in the end zone. I'm sick of
missed field goals,
3 and outs. Like it's just like it's such an inept offense at this point, guys. It's time to get our poop together.
Yeah, literally, you have Neighbors on the field. Like even with Jones, like it changes this offense.
Yes, and you gotta wonder after what happened last week and the obvious frustration that Dable had with this offense. Again, he's using 4th down early in the second half in a game that was by no means over for most teams. Think about it, guys. They scored 17 points in the game, and one of them was a late touchdown. We were down by 10
Yeah.
points for most of the game. That is not a let's go crazy and start doing 4 down possessions at the beginning of the second half. That's what little confidence Dable has in this offense. You gotta wonder if he pulls the plug on Jones. I still think that. And I know some people say I'm crazy on that, but I still gotta wonder at what point does Dable go, you know what? I've seen enough. I'm done.
Halfway mark.
I don't know. I still feel like it's got to be there, guys, because again, you risk him to the injuries with the injury clause. I really think DeVito will pump this team up and get everything rolling. I really do. So, but like I said, that's what I'm looking at more on the offense side. Is I'm not caring about the Eagles defense because they don't scare me, to be very frank with you. And that's what I mean about it. They're an okay team on defense.
Yeah,
they're not good. They're okay. What I care more about is what does this Giants offense do? And can they right the ship and look more like they did against the Seahawks than what they did last week against the Bengals?
Yeah, that's. I mean, the Seahawks defense is banged up, but they're still playing a lot better than the Bengals defense. So it's something like you have to take consideration. Like, what changed so much between those two games? Like, what happened to our offense? Like, you had Daniel Jones look solid, against Seattle. But when you play the Bengals in prime time, you can't score a touchdown.
Yeah, that's bad. They did score one.
Well, yes, they did score one touchdown. But how did they get that touchdown?
Running.
Yeah, not Daniel Jones throwing the ball.
Running, going 4 downs all the time, doing short routes and passing downs.
Yeah.
And that's part of the problem and I think that's part of the problem even Devin Singletary's having, back to his struggles before he got hurt, is because if you are a defense, what are you doing right now? Loading that box up because it's going to be a short pass, a run play, or an overthrown deep ball.
Or hey.
Or under.
Hey.
Okay, it could be
underthrown. It could be underthrown. It could be underthrown.
I'm just saying, are you really respecting that deep pass? You're loading that box up.
No, I mean Seattle didn't really respect that deep pass, and it worked. It worked for us, though.
Finally,
like
broken clock, right twice a day. That's what we got was 2 deep passes. I'm just saying.
I mean,
just only 2 we got the whole season.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
we just gotta throw a deep Slayton. That's
there. We go. Oh, we're getting a new quarterback. Ooh.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about more on defense here because these guys have been the stars of the season here. Is the Giants defense, and we're going to be playing an Eagles team that, let's be very frank, we've struggled to play against the last couple of years. But this is a totally different Giants defense. This is a totally different Eagles offense. This is not the same on either side of the last couple of years. The first thing we got to talk about, obviously, is the offensive line because that's the bread and butter of what the Eagles have been the last couple of years. Absolutely. And when I mean the bread and butter, I mean like the honey butter they serve at that Texas Roadhouse. Like that's the kind of butter it's been. Because let's be honest, guys, we try to be honest about our thoughts on things, and we try to take our Giants fan cap off there. This has been one of the best offensive lines, if not the best offensive line in all of football the last couple of years. Not this year.
I mean, you got your stud center who's been probably one of the best, if not the best, for the past how many years?
Yeah.
Finally retires.
Got one more old guy hanging on hope. Got one more we'll get rid of, but even like Joey Mailata is has been a really good left tackle, but he's actually going to be injured in this game. He's got he's going to be injured this game. Makes it sound like I'm putting a hit on him.
I was about to say, I'm like,
be injured this game. Yeah, don't
that
you know?
Dark real fast.
He got injured last game, so he's going to be injured for where he can't play in the game.
He's going to be out this game due to injury.
I can't talk well. So the Eagles haven't announced who's going to be taking his spot, but it would be expected it's either to be their swing tackle, Fred Johnson, or possible wild card on this, Mekhi Becton, who's their right guard. Now, yes, that Mekhi Becton, the ex-Jet, who has been actually playing very well at the guard position this season there, since the Eagles have converted him over after falling flat in his face there and getting injured every other week there with the Jets. Again, like you mentioned, longtime center Jason Kelce has retired. Cam Jurgens has been replaced him and actually played pretty well, but he's no Kelce. He's not the same standard that Kelce provided at that point. He's an above average center, not a Pro Bowl center. There is a difference, obviously.
There's a big difference.
And we talked about the last couple of games. Right tackle has been an issue for the teams we've been facing lately. And we saw what happened last week with Azeez Ojulari just absolutely owning Mims the entire game, which, again, we called on the program. Just saying, we might know what we're talking about. This is not the case, though, guys. Lane Johnson is still an Eagle. He's the old man left standing, basically, on this offensive line. And he's been great, as he always is. He's been one of the best right tackles in all of football still. So you look at what the weaknesses are, though. And again, this was an offensive line that all around was absolutely spectacular the last couple of years. This year, they've had problems with pass protection. They're giving up sacks on 8.19% of passing plays. That's 22nd in the league, guys.
Whoa.
That's not good. But
sexy dances.
While I expect us to exploit that because of the fact that we do lead the league in sacks, Hurts has literally been sacked 14 games, by the way, guys, and 14 times.
Games, 14 times.
He's sacked 14 games. He's been sacked.
It's amazing. He only played 6 or 5.
Don't make fun of me. He's been sacked 14 times in 5 games. All of last year, he was sacked just 36 times. So, yeah, that means he's on pace for about 50. So that's a pretty sizable chunk more. But the unit is still really good at run blocking. And that's been an issue for our defense. That's what's got me most worried over anything in this entire game here, as far as what our defense is going to do against this offense, is we lucked out last week because the Bengals didn't run the ball. If we're being honest, as good as the defense looked, the defense did not do good at stopping the run. They just didn't run very often. And I think if they committed to the run, they would have actually probably beaten us much easier than they did, because we have trouble stopping the run. It would have taken time off the clock at that point. It would have been a much more dominant performance by the Bengals than what it was in a game that, quite frankly, we should have won, but only because they didn't run the ball. This team's going to run. This team, we're not to worry about, thank God they didn't run the ball very much. No, they're going to run. They're going to do it. So this defense has got to be ready to go. Let's go over some of the stars of the offense, so to speak, here for the Eagles.
Ooh.
Jalen Hurts, 67.5 completion percentage. It looks like 37 some weeks. He hasn't had his best, been very good at times this year. 1,194 yards, 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He's got 56 rushes, by the way, which is on pace for a career high for him. 196 yards, 3.5 yard per carry average, which is actually down from 4.7 last year. 4.7 for his career. So it's a yard and a quarter base. That's a big chunk difference there. He's also got 2 touchdowns, and he had 15 last year. He was only on pace for about 7. So he's on pace for about less than half the touchdowns he had last year rushing the ball too. Yeah,
I mean, he's also on pace to have career high rushing, because he's got a terrible offensive. Well, say terrible. A way less
bad pass protecting offensive line.
Yeah, from what he's used to.
That's fair.
Yeah, from what he's used to. So he's running for his life a little bit.
Yeah.
Listen, as Giants fans, we're used to that.
He's also got issues with his weapons not being healthy. So AJ Brown's only played 2 games. He played week 1. He played last week.
Listen, I haven't on fantasy football. It's been terrible.
Well, no, but here's the thing: when he has played, he's played very good.
Oh, 100% right. But
he has
played
for 3 of the 5 games they've had, 11 catches, 235 yards, and 2 touchdowns in 2 games. I would take that in a heartbeat if a Giants player did that. Devonta Smith, 4 games, so he also missed a game. By the way, one of the games that AJ Brown missed, which was crazy. They literally didn't have Smith or Brown for a game. 24 catches, 303 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Dallas Goedert has also been a very big part of their offense as well, because he's actually been in all 5 games, which really helps make you a big part of the offense when you're healthy. Nobody else is. 24 catches, 301 yards there. Now, he is dealing with a hamstring issue, same as their left tackle there. So he may also not be available for the game. We'll have to kind of see as things get closer at that point there. But yeah, like I said, definitely had some issues. But again, how much of the issue on their passing is the fact that their weapons have been healthy? You know, it's like, how good is our offense without Neighbors or Wandale? And let's be very frank, Wandale and Neighbors don't have the pedigree that Brown and Smith do. You can make the case that Neighbors could be a better receiver than Brown if he continues playing the way he's played. But I think it's disrespectful, as much as I love to disrespect Eagles. I won't do that in this case. It'd be disrespectful to say Neighbors is a better player right now than Brown, and Brown has the pedigree, and Neighbors has played well in 4 games.
You're not wrong for saying that, and that's exactly the point I was going to make. Like, Brown, you have Brown and Devontae Smith. They both have tenure in the NFL and proven themselves compared to
receivers.
Yep. Compared to like Neighbors, who's played 4 games.
Like a good Neighbors.
He'll catch the ball in the end zone. And Wandale, he's still very young to the NFL. Like he came out, what's his 3rd year now?
Yeah, but he's only played like a year and a half.
I was about to say, but he tore his ACL and he didn't really play his rookie year. They did what the Giants always do. They don't really start their new receivers unless they get a shiny brand new weapon in the first round, like Neighbors.
Like a top 10 pick, some guy.
Yeah, some guy like that, whatever. But I mean, his rookie year, he didn't really come out and start playing until like week 6, 7.
When he got hurt against the Lions, the one game he had that was a 100-yard game.
Yeah, that was fantastic. But yeah, well, it was fantastic to the 3rd quarter.
Yeah,
but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's they have the potential to be this caliber of players, but they don't have the tenure for us to say that. So you're right, it would be disrespectful.
Yeah, but I guess that also brings us back to what we were saying before. Like, they're 3-2. They've been missing their top receiver for all but 2 games. They've been close in every single game. They got injuries on the offensive line. Like, this has not been. And again, I'm not trying to make excuses for the Eagles. Like, we all have injuries. We're all dealing with stuff in the NFL. Look at what's going on with us. We got no Andrew Thomas. We've had no Neighbors the last couple weeks. No Singletary. I'm just saying, I wonder if this is a team that they get back to healthy and they get back to playing like they were playing. And I don't know that because, again, they how bad they played towards the end of last year, it won't allow me to have confidence in saying that's going to happen. But I could be confident saying that's a potential to happen as they get healthy and get everybody back and stuff like that. So, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens on Sunday. But it's going to be – I'm kind of curious to see what happens with this team against this defense, though, purely because of the fact that we have trouble stopping the run, and this is a team that's a run-first team. That's an issue. So,
yes,
we'll see what happens there. But we got to talk about the big return.
Ooh, the elephant in the room.
Oh, yes.
Or the shack in the room, if you will.
The Saquon in the room as Saquon returns to MetLife Stadium in this game. This is a pretty big winner as he's being called by a lot of Giants fans Snakewan. Now, again, we have been on a record of saying we don't hate the guy. The Giants didn't want him just as bad as he didn't want the Giants. Like, this is fans are taking this way too personal. I still think that. But in the end, the man's a little crazy because did you hear what he said today? He said he doesn't think he's going to get booed at MetLife. Dude, if you don't think you're going to get booed at MetLife Stadium, we're wearing an Eagles jersey. Dude, are you kidding? Like, NFL, you need to piss test this man right now.
Yeah.
He's clearly on something. If he thinks that he's not going to get booed, entering MetLife Stadium, being a former Giant, wearing an Eagles jersey for the first time in that stadium.
He's played in our market. He knows how our fans are.
Just tells you
he's now been playing in Philadelphia for 6 weeks, well, 5 weeks, but like know how their fan base is.
And
how do you not think that?
keep in mind also it's a home game as well. So like the announcers can pause if they want
Oh, yes. So the
to
fans can
allow
hear.
for the booing. So trust me, he is going to hear like you would not believe. Let's go over what he's actually been doing this year, though, because that's the big thing is that there's a lot of fans that are taking, again, they took it very personal what he did. And like I said, I get it. You're allowed as a fan to take it however you want to take it. I think that the man's also allowed to make a living. And the Giants honestly did not want to sign him this offseason, point blank. So the Eagles did. It is what it is. And I still think they're going to regret that deal anyway long term. So Saquon of the year, 5 games, 91 carries, 482 yards. That's a 5.3 yard per carry average. 4 touchdowns, 14 catches for 92 yards. 79 of those yards were yak yards and 1 touchdown. So not bad numbers on paper, guys. Like really, we talked about this. Rob and I both said leading up to this year, expect Saquon to have a big year with the Eagles. Expect it because it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's a really good offensive line, run blocking wise at least. We didn't think they had the fall they have on pass protection like they had this year, but we knew they'd be a good offensive line for, run blocking, probably the much better than he's ever had in, with the Giants at that point. I think that's a safe bet to say. But guys, you got to look at the big runs he's had because the numbers don't tell you what he's been dependent on. And I like to look at the game tracks of what he's done and the individual runs he's done at that point there. So he's had 4 what they call big runs. That's what they call them in the stat-wise there. ESPN listed as big runs on their stats. And I was like, oh, big runs. That's over 20 yards. That's a lot of yards potentially off of this. How many yards does this man had off of these 4 big runs? He had a 65-yard run against the Saints. He had a 59-yard run against the Bucs. He had a 34-yard run against the Packers. Now, I could not find the 4th one, but we know it's at least 20 yards because it has to be at least 20 yards to be a big run. I couldn't find individual stats on every single rush for some of these games. But what I was able to find is longest rush per game. So I was able to find those 3 that way. Those 4 yards account for at least 178 yards, guys.
Yeah.
Without those runs, his average drops to 3.5 yards per carry. And that's if that one was a 20-yarder, which we know it probably wasn't. I don't know how big it was, but it was at least 20 yards. So 3.5 yards per carry. If 3.5 yards per carry, guys, is not good.
No.
It's not good at all.
We talked about him getting that with his Giants last year.
Yeah.
Like 3.4. I think we were talking about like, because I made the case saying like if you do that every down, you get a first down every time.
Yep.
And 3 plays, but like that's still not good. Like
it's like I said, that's not good. Like if he is averaging 4 yards per carry without those, I'm like, okay. But he is the guy who has lived and died by those big runs. And he's like you said, he did that with the Giants too. This defense has to be able to stop the big runs. And I think if they can do that, we're going to do well against Barkley at that point. We know him. We know how to stop him. You got to be physical. He hates being hit. Let's be very frank.
Yeah.
He hates being hit. He loves to just dance around if the running lanes aren't wide enough for his liking because he's a little soft. He doesn't like getting hit. He thinks he can turn it out to the outside and make a big play. But it's not really that. I think it's him not wanting to get hit. I really do. Because we talked about it before. How many times did he go on to go out the outside, bounced it out, and lost 2 yards when he could have gained 3 yards?
Yeah, by going up the middle. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what always killed a lot of his average is that kind of stuff. And that's why he's also gotten the big plays every so often, is because every so often it will work out. So, we have to go ahead and just be physical with the guy. We have to make him want to bounce it outside. And we have to have somebody outside who can stop him. There's one guy in particular that I'm curious to see what he does in this game against Saquon in the run game. And that's Drew Phillips, guys.
Ooh.
Drew Phillips has been a very physical corner in the run game. And if Saquon goes to take it outside and Drew Phillips is on that field, there's a 50-50 shot that Drew Phillips is going to be on the side he's running to. I did the math real quick to make sure I was correct. Wait a minute. 1, 2. Yeah, 50%.
Yeah.
Left or right. But, that's something I haven't heard a lot of people talk about is the fact that if he's bouncing outside, guys, this is not the old Giants team that doesn't have physical people in the secondary. I mean, granted, we still have a Dory Jackson who, is
runs away from the hit.
Yeah, he's like, no, don't touch me. But we also have, like I said, Drew Phillips, who's a very
shoot my cooties outside.
We have Tyler Nubin, who has come up like a freaking rocket in run help at that point. I'm telling you, this is not the Giants of last year against that kind of stuff. The Giants of last year would actually have a lot more problem, I think, with a guy like Saquon. I think, if anything, the way Saquon runs actually is helpful for our Giants defense as long as they tackle well, because every so often they will have trouble tackling. It drives me nuts when it happens because it's like common basic things. Wrap him up, and wrap him up, okay? It's very simple.
It's like a Friday night when you're
pretend it's a one-night stand.
Yeah.
It's not that difficult. Just you got to hold on. And that's part of what gets me is the guys like that they don't hold on. Just hold on. That's all you got to do. Help will be on the way in a second to help him just smack him to the ground if you can't do it. The big key
at that point, don't listen to 38 Special. Don't hold on loosely.
Because you can't.
You don't want to lose control.
But it's like you can't really run very fast when you're dragging even a 180, 190 pound body. So it's like, just hold on.
Yeah.
Help will come. As long as the Giants do that, I honestly think Saquon is not going to be effective in this game. But I do think that this also is a personal game for Saquon. I think personally, because I think I hate to put people's words in their mouth. So I'll say this is me saying this. This is not Saquon saying this. But I think Saquon hates Joe Schoen with a passion. I really do. I feel he feels really disrespected by Joe Schoen. He probably feels very disrespected the way Hard Knocks played out. I mean, Hard Knocks literally had Joe Schoen saying, "Yeah, he's old. I don't want him." That's basically what he said.
Yeah, pretty much.
Meanwhile, he's talking to Fred Gore at the time, who played to was 47. It's like the Tom Brady of running backs. But it's like, it was pretty obvious that Joe Schoen wanted it to appear like, oh, well, Barkley just got a bigger offer. We weren't going to match it. Instead of saying, no, we didn't want him, which was pretty much the case. So I get Saquon's anger in that scenario. I truly do, actually. Because especially because it made him look like the villain in this whole scenario. And it shouldn't be a villain. We appreciate the time that you did work with us, Saquon. We don't want you moving forward. And let's be very frank, you don't want us moving forward.
Yeah, it's a mutual departure.
You could be an adult and have these kind of conversations. Instead, he got fan bases thinking that he screwed over the Giants and took the Eagles more money. No, he didn't want to go to the Giants, and the Giants didn't want him. Now, I've said it before. I'll say it again. The two teams I despise more than any teams in the NFL, the Eagles and the Cowboys. And the second you go to one of those two teams, I'm not going to root for you. I can even root for him to be somewhat successful as a commander.
Yeah, because the Commanders have been out of it for so long that it's hard to
be
like, all right.
Yeah, it's just the Commanders.
Yeah, pretty much.
And he'd be like, well, he's washed up. He went to the Commanders. That's probably more the outcome. You know what I mean? Or if you go to the Texans suppose you want him. I would have rooted for him very hard at the Texans. Great, good for him. Let's
different division. He's in the AFC now.
Yeah,
all right.
But he went to the Eagles. He had to expect this hate.
He literally just went across to Delaware. He didn't even travel that far. He didn't even have to really move.
Yeah, it's like you broke up with a girl and started dating her worst enemy.
Or best friend.
Well, no, I'm saying that we're not friends with the Eagles. That's why I was using that analogy. But yeah, either one is that kind of betrayal. It really is.
Yeah, I was saying it's a betrayal because it's the best friend.
Yeah. So, like I said, I think he's in for a rather large boo fest. Is that even a word, a boo fest?
It is now.
It is. I like it. I think he doesn't even realize it, though. That's the scary part. He does not realize what kind of a boo fest he's in for. he's gonna get every time he touches the
He's
ball.
gonna get booed.
Like that's what's going to happen. So
happy Halloween.
boo. Are they saying boo earns?
Yeah.
Alrighty. Let's get into our thoughts and picks on the game here real quick and see what we think is going to happen now.
Nice.
That we will give our official picks here tomorrow night when we do our week 7, which I can't believe it's already week 7 pick show there. As we lose Rob again, he just keeps disappearing on us. He's like a freaking magician. But yeah, we got the Giants are right now a 3-point underdog, and it's a 43-point over-under. Now, guys, I would love to sit here and tell you that this is a game that the Giants are going to absolutely trash the Eagles. Like last time. That was a fun game, guys. Listen, as much as that game, last year was not, the season last year was not fun for us, that last game against the Eagles was fun, right? Like, that was something fun. And this time, yeah, like, I don't know if that's going to happen again. We have not played the Eagles well. To be very frank with you guys, if you are betting people, I would not put any money on this game whatsoever. Because either one of these two teams, you could sit there and say are inconsistent, and you have no clue what to think of them overall. Either one of those two teams can play very well or very bad at any moment. That's where we're at. So I can't sit here and say, oh, the Giants will win because of this. Because the Giants are still searching for identity. Let's be honest about this. Right now, their identity is a really good defense and an offense that sucks, but every so often puts up enough points to win. The Eagles,
a couple times.
The Eagles, their identity right now is playing extremely close games and hoping it works out. Like, they don't have an actual legit established identity, either one. So I can't tell you guys which way I think this is going to go. If you're going to hold my feet to the fire, though, I'm going to tell you the Eagles will win. Just because after last week, I have that much little confidence in the Giants.
It depends, and pardon me, because I actually exited the room. But it depends on the health of the Giants, like what's going on. Like, obviously, we know Andrew Thomas is out, but this Malik Neighbors play, this Singletary step in. Like, I have more confidence if I know 2 of those 3 players are going to be, on that field.
Yep.
If you got 0 of those 3 players, I'm going to put my money on the Eagles to win this game. Like, and I'm not, I'm not by any means an Eagles fan. I'm not. I don't have faith in the Eagles to win a lot of games. Like, let's be real with that. Like, I've talked about before. Like, I think they're on that downward spiral. But as a the Giants, they do have the potential to win, but they also they have more of a potential to disappoint you this year. That's what I feel like.
I'm going to call this. The Giants have trouble putting up points, and the Eagles don't play amazing, but Jalen Hurts runs the ball well against us, and A.J. Brown embarrasses Deontay Banks. That's my gut instinct tells me what's going to happen. And we're going to lose in a close game, because we always do lose in a close game, and they always play games close. So I think that's what's going to happen, personally. I think they'll score just enough to beat us because of those 2 things. The Giants not going to stop the quarterback from running, and not being able to stop A.J. Brown from doing what he wants.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be like somewhere in the high teens to low 20s to the win. Like, even if the Giants win, it's going to be like 20-17. Eagles win is going to be like 24 to 18. It's going to be like a missed field goal and like a 2-point conversion.
Yeah, like that's exactly what it's going to be. It's going to be a very low scoring game. Yeah. So, all righty. Speaking of games, we do have to go over before we head out of here for the night, and we will get your guys' comments in a moment too as well. But before we get out of here as well, we also have to talk about our Thursday night picks. Now, to recap to recap for everybody there, we talked about in the last game that Rob and I basically how good or bad the week was going to be for either one of us is going to depend on what happened in that last game. Well, of course, the Bills did win, as I called.
Of course.
So I ended up beating you, Rob, by 5 points as a total last week. So I'm now up by 12 points on the year. So on the game here, Thursday night to start week 7, we got the Broncos going down to Nolans with a little gumbo, a little shrimp and grits here. And the Broncos are actually a 2.5 point underdog in this. The Saints are the favorites. And it's a 37 point over under. Rob, who you got?
Is it the Saints are the favorites, or is the Broncos? Because you have notes saying the Broncos are the favorites.
No, I said spread for home is negative 2.5 for the Saints. So the Saints are a 2.5 point favorite.
Perfect. The notes say Broncos are 2.5 point favorites.
Oh, the notes. Okay, the pick thing is right. The notes is it's not.
All right, so
leave me alone. I was getting dental work done today. I was. It hurts. Okay. Side note: my dental hygienist. I went to a dentist that I've only been for a cavity filling in the very beginning, and they do a weird it's like I've had 3 visits with this dentist office, and I finally got a cleaning. Like the first one they do is just the examination, and they take X-rays where I was glowing like one of those fish where they inject the ink in you in the vet store. Like I was like one of those fish there when I left, basically. And then the second one they did the cavities they found on the X-rays. Now the third one they're doing the cleaning.
Huh? Yeah,
I never had that before. But this hygienist, first off, let me say this: she was very good. My teeth look amazing, but at least as amazing as my teeth look, my British genes and all. But
you're sparkling.
Yeah, but oh my god, this woman was I swear, they always had the joke about people enjoying torture, and that's why they want to be the dentist and all.
Because I want to be a dentist.
She was Steve Martin in this whole scenario. Oh my god. So yeah, but anyway. Yeah. So excuse my mistake on the notes. Yes, it's a 2.5 point favorite for the Saints.
And you know what? Saints are playing at home. Normally 3-point favorites at home. I don't have faith in either one of these teams. If I was a betting man, which I'm really not a betting man, just only on this podcast.
Yeah, we get picks.
And sometimes they do bigger leagues. Yeah. I probably would say El Paso and don't bet this game, but I would probably bet the under. Because I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game. So I'm going to start off saying the under, but I'm going to take the Broncos to win this game. The Broncos had a very bad outing. They've turned things to – they really have turned the ship around. Turn the beat. But since they got that 7-point burger –
Next lyric is love to feel the passion, I think.
Whatever.
It's like Gloria Stefanov's song. Turn it inside out.
But since the Broncos had that 70-point burger put up on them last year, they've played way better defense. They've played for 5 weeks of football.
70 points since then.
Well, the first 5 weeks of football, they were a top 5 defense, arguably the top 3 defense. And they've turned around and played better. Bo Nix is coming too and has been playing better.
I was about to say, I think that's the big thing for me.
And so I'm going to take the Broncos to win, Broncos to cover in the under, because now you also got Carr out due to ribs injuries, and you have who's the starting quarterback? They just for the Saints, and the Saints defense started off the season very, very hot, but that fizzled out real fast. And granted, they are playing at home.
Rattler started last week as the at the quarterback position. Jake Hadner is the other one. It was the second-year quarterback. Who's on
Haller? Yeah, Haller was the one that
he's the guy who took I'm trying to report this correctly here. The rookie pictures for the Saints. It was trying to look, let's say, alluring for the women.
thirsty, if you will.
He was trying to attract the female fan base.
Yeah. For some
Trying to get
reason,
some
there's he had some gutters hanging out.
It
in his
was
headshot.
really weird pictures. I'm saying honestly, for an NFL thing, especially, I was just waiting to be like this. Go, like that's how bad it was. Like yeah, it was that bad. It was a little crazy. Look it up. Like I said, you'll see it pretty easy. Just put Saints quarterback rookie photos. It'll probably come right up.
Yeah.
'Cause
So
I'm gonna try to attempt to spell his last name. Oh, here we go. Yeah, if I just search Saints rookie quarterback photo shoot, it comes right up.
Yeah. So I'm going to take the Broncos in this. The defense is going to play better against a lackluster Saints offense, and not say that the Broncos have a great offense or even a good offense, but good enough to beat the Saints defense. Broncos win in the under.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean they said 3 to 4 weeks for Carr, so he should definitely be out, like you said. So that's my big thing for me is that the Saints started off really hot. They've been really not the last couple weeks there. And then you throw in the fact that, again, second week in a row without the starting quarterback. Yeah. Bet they're wishing they had Jameis Winston right. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
So you and I are actually the same exact mindset. Broncos under.
Let me mute this.
Listen, if you actually looked at the pick sheet, I already had mine up there, unlike some people. Yeah. Try to hit mute all you want. It was already up for me. So, all right, let's get to the comments real quick, guys, and then we're gonna head on out of here. So, Fabian Gonzalez says, "Sup, Fabian.
Bro.
Sup."
Sup.
I love how like "what's up" was too complicated right now, so we went up to "what's up," and then it's like, well, now "what's up" is too long, so we're going to "sup."
Yeah, but it's "what's up" and then "sup." Like what's WASSUP then "sup."
Is it gonna be like just like a W next or like?
No, it's just gonna be up.
Up. Stages got to be stages eventually.
Yeah,
he's never gonna watch again. It's like these guys were rude. I put up a comment. No, we appreciate you watching. We're just messing with you. Meme Stein 69 says, if only we listened to Joe Shane's son and got Daniels. Listen, we were not getting Daniels. There was no way in hell the Commanders were giving us that at all. Yeah, as Dwayne says, and yes, we'd hire Joe Shane's son immediately. Listen, if the Giants thought they could have gotten Jaden Daniels, trust me, they would have given up whatever they had to give up to get him. I'm 100%. Telling you that right now for a fact. They would have given up anything they had to give up to get him. Like whether it be 4 first-round picks, like do a crazy Ricky Williams draft day kind of trade, like they would have done it. I'm telling you, that's how much they liked him.
Yeah.
So, Dwayne says, what do you guys feel about people saying you're a fake or toxic fan to the fan base if you don't support Jones? Because I'm over it. Listen, there's 2 types of Jones haters. There's people that legitimately hate Daniel Jones and want him to fail so bad just to prove they're right. And there's ones who just don't think he's a very good quarterback. If you're the latter, you're fine. If you're literally rooting for Jones to fail just to prove yourself right, then yes, you are toxic to the fan base. And yeah, need to go. Point. So, Deb says, do you think Jones plays worse at home due to the pressure he feels in front of hometown crowd, most of whom don't like him? Yeah, probably.
Well, listen, when he plays away, 100% of the fans don't like him. So you're talking about 75% of the fans don't like him, or 50% of the fans like.
He's got less pressure. Let's be honest, because he's literally getting booed at home every time he throws the ball now at this point. And he's going into it knowing that. It's one thing when like the Seahawks fans boo you. Like, who cares? I'll never see you again. You're in your home stadium. And every time you miss a pass down deep, which is basically every time you throw it deep, you're getting booed.
Well, don't mess up your
throws, This is the same fan base that cheered when Drew Lock got injured in the preseason because he threw 2 bad passes.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we're a rough bunch, Giants fans. We are a rough bunch. And like I said, I think we take it to the extreme sometimes. Like I'll never cheer a guy getting hurt. He could be the worst player in the world. He could be, a guy that like we should be happy to get rid of, and I would still be not wanting to root for him to get injured because you can get rid of him by just getting rid of him. You don't have to have him injured to get rid of him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think it's definitely part of the equation for him, probably. I really do, and it's kind of sad that that's the case.
I'm going to disagree because he's always given me that like Eli vibe where he comes off where like he just kind of lets everything just kind of roll off him. It's like when you put Windex on your windshield and the rain just beats right off. It's kind of like how he's seems like in his life. It's like, all right, whatever. This is this and it's that.
I'm going to look up for you home and away stats real quick for Daniel Jones.
You don't have to look up for me. I know he's way better away.
I got it right here. Daniel Jones, 33 games home, 33 games away. Hold on. Website had a video is about to play. I don't want that playing in the background. But I'm getting my stats here from StatsMuse, which is a pretty good spot to look up this kind of stuff because they do all kinds of weird stuff like this. So he's got 33 games home and 33 games away. So we got the same exact as far as that, okay? His yards home are actually a little bit more, about 50 yards more. His completion percentage, I'm sorry. His attempts at home are about 50 more. His completion percentage is a point less at home. His yards are about 300 less at home for his career. He averages a half a yard less per connection there. He averages about, oh my gosh, this is the big difference here. Touchdown interception ratio. 27 touchdowns, 30 interceptions at home. 41 touchdowns, 14 interceptions at away. That's pretty goddamn
That's a big
crazy.
problem.
Yeah. His interception percentage goes from 2.8 at home to 1.3 on the road. His quarterback rating goes from 77.9 at home to 91.8 away. You want to hear a really interesting stat?
Always play away.
Here's a really interesting stat there, and I wonder how much of this is him and how much of them is the line. Sacks. 88 sacks away, 105 home. He's got a half a sack a game additional at home. Sounds weird to say it, half a sack, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, you're missing one. It's whatever.
I'm just saying, like, that's part of the equation there. She's not wrong. There's definitely the issue, and I gotta think it's the home crowd. I really do. I think he's at the point where he just feels so much pressure that he's just shot. And that's why I'm saying I think not only do we need a fresh start from Daniel Jones needs a fresh start from us guys. I feel like he's becoming the Evan Ingram of quarterbacks. There's just too much issues at this point, and he needs to move on just as bad as we need to move on. And I'm starting to like I said, I'm starting to really feel bad for the guy because I'm not feeling bad for his paychecks and his bank statements. That's for damn sure. Don't get me wrong. But there's just something about New York and this team that he's just not succeeding on. And I think the problem is he's probably better off as a backup somewhere. And it wouldn't shock me at all for him to sit behind somebody else for a year or two somewhere else, get a chance to start, and be the next Geno Smith. Wouldn't shock me at all. Now, it also wouldn't shock me at all if he goes somewhere else, is just as bad, and never gets a chance to start in the NFL again. That wouldn't shock me either. But
he'll be a Raider in no time.
Yeah, but he needs a fresh start just as bad as we do, guys. So, like I said, I'm rooting for the kid. I really am. Whether it's here or somewhere else at this point, he seems like a really nice guy. He's a leader. He does try hard. He's just not that good. And I still think that Joe Judge and Jason Garrett ruined him.
Yeah.
I don't think he ever had that high of a potential to begin with, but he's not going to reach the potential he had because of what those two did to him. So
exactly.
All righty, guys. That's going to call it a night for us. We're going to get back to tomorrow. So, you don't have to miss that much here. Same bat time, same bat station at that point. So we'll be back again tomorrow for our Week 7 picks show there. Who knows what other new news we might have for you guys as well. We will go over the injury report as well tomorrow for the Giants and Eagles game as well. So you'll get that from us. Plus any other Giants news that happens to pop up between now and then. Who knows? Maybe we, trade for a quarterback.
Who knows?
Listen, if we trade for Matt Stafford, guys, we will go live that day, no matter what day that is. That's for damn sure to let you guys know what's going on. But in the meantime, guys, listen, if you really want to know everything going on with the Giants, hit that like, hit that subscribe, share it to a friend you think also might want to know everything going on with the Giants as well. Because as always, we are doing 3 episodes per week plus game day at that point. So, like I said, we are doing, I think, more content than just about every single channel that I can ever come across as the Giants. It's kind of crazy how much content we do there. There's a couple that do daily, and that's about it. So I think we're like that B tier as far as amount of content. I'll take a B tier. The capital B, goddammit.
The Devin Singletaries of the Giants podcast.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we are. We're the Devin Singletary of Jeff. Yeah. Oh, God, that sounds bad.
Okay, moving right along.
Anyway, as always, we are live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and of course, Rob's favorite,
Joe's like that. Oh,
profile. And of course, as always, we are live. We are available the next day on audio podcasts as well. Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon, all the big ones there. So if you guys like audio as well, feel free to hit the like and subscribe on both video and the audio at that point. You never know what you're going to want one day. Life's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. So go for it. And if you're on Apple, if you're on Apple Podcast specifically, feel free to also leave a written review. That really helps get that spread out as well, guys. Appreciate you guys watching as always. We'll be back again, like I said, tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and all those platforms we talked about there. As always, Giant fans, go G-Man!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you. Please subscribe.